Okay, today I'm going to talk about in my video about how I use negative keywords, negative keyword lists, to make more money or make my money on Google when I run Google ads for the hundreds of different campaigns that I run at any given time. With that said, negative keyword lists, of course there's a lot of other content I'm sure that you can find about negative keyword lists. What I try to do in my videos is to distill down not just what negative keyword lists are, because that's boring and that doesn't even help you a lot. How to use negative keyword lists, and what's the minimum amount of information you need to know or could know about negative keyword lists to get the full benefit out of them in terms of an easy to apply strategy. So that's what I'm going to cover in this particular video, and ultimately you could take it from me that I have that distilled down way that ultimately, just if you want to make it easy on yourself, what I try to do in my videos, just do what I do. I've set up, again, hundreds of different campaigns that I've tried through trial and error in terms of negative keywords, dealing with it, not trying to ignore it, knowing that you can't ignore it in terms of adding negative keywords, trying a bunch of different variations of. So there's always where are you going to get most of the your bang for your buck in terms, and where is the cutoff point where spending more time on it doesn't really produce you much more return, and you can spend your time elsewhere. So with all that said, long story short, 95% of the actual benefit you can get out of running negative keywords and all that, I've got a method here that I use that I'm going to show you here today that you can do in minimal time still. And so you're going to get something that the best of the best are using out there, something that's going to be easy and manageable, even if you're managing your own campaigns in order to do it, or to suggest it to that person's helping you manage your campaigns. Also, this helps you have a lot of long-term legs on what you're doing, because things become complicated if you don't have a set given strategy for the negative keywords. Over time it gets messier and messier in your account, and you'll know that if you don't have a strategy, because later on there'll be conflicts, one thing conflicting another, and you may come out with a new campaign. That conflicts with everything you've done in the past with negative keywords in the past. This method takes care of all that as well. So anyway, I'm going to explain all those things, where you can run into trouble, pros and cons of different strategies, and then ultimately the strategy that I use so you can use it for yourself. And that's going to ultimately make you the most money in the least amount of time, really, or to make the most money given most of the benefit negative keywords can provide, and using these negative lists, which is a key part of using negative keywords, or should be in your company's campaigns. So anyway, as usual, I have a short list of things that I will then cover about the do's and the don'ts and how to do this, what kind of results you can expect, and so on and so forth in this video. The very first thing I want to cover is, what are negative keyword lists, and why would you want to actually use one? So there's just a short list. It's not real complicated why people use negative keyword lists or why you should use them. There's an organizational purpose to using the negative keyword list. That's the primary reason I would say that people start off by using them. I shouldn't say start off, but over time they learn to want to use them, because they have a bunch of different campaigns in their account, and they want to keep track of things a little bit easier. And so the negative lists will let you to categorize negative keywords, certain types versus other types, for purposes of keeping track of what you have in your account. Over time, good people that make a lot of money on Google ads, they'll have thousands of negative keywords. So putting them all in one big list, or not using lists at all, gets to be real cumbersome in terms of how to manage all that long term. So this helps you keep track of it. Of course, the second one is speed of application. So using negative keyword lists, it's easy to apply one negative keyword to multiple campaigns, because automatically you can have a keyword list tied to multiple campaigns, or all campaigns in your account, so that when you and negative keywords in one campaign, list, it can be applied to all of the different campaigns in your account, which is normally how I use negative keyword lists, what ultimately you should be doing probably. And then with that, what a lot of people are doing starting out, because they don't know about negative keyword lists, they're going into what is called the search terms report. It's that report that is different than your keyword view in your Google Ads account, which show the keywords that you're bidding on and that you would like your ad to show up for. Search terms are what your ad actually does show up for, before what the user physically exactly typed in right before they clicked on your ad. So ultimately what you paid for there. And there's this menu there where this is what the Google reps teach people to do, because it's easy and it gets your foot in the door with it, and they can't take you through complicated strategies because it's not cost effective for them in terms of the time that they're spending and trying to get you to raise your ad spend, hint, of what to do. So you get a little bit of a minimal benefit on the side of helping you get more efficiency while they help you raise your spend, just as a side note to everything. If you were wondering about how all that works with Google reps a little bit. Don't attack me, Google. So on your search terms report, there's little check boxes next to each search term that triggered your ad. And then if you put your check next to there, up at the top, you can click on add as a negative keyword. And then that can add as a negative keyword that search term to that campaign. Actually, I forgot if it's to the campaign or to the ad group, but either one. I don't usually do that, so trying to remember exactly how that, either way, it doesn't matter. Essentially, so that's how people usually add negative keywords, let's just say. Not always, but a lot of times. Otherwise, they'll look at the search terms report, they'll write it down, and then they'll go into the negative keyword section of that campaign and add the negative keyword. One or the other. So with that, though, comes a time where you become more advanced as a PPC person. You learn how to do these lists, and you realize that just adding a negative keyword, you find it a term that you don't want in your search terms report. Ultimately, Google makes it easy to add it as a negative keyword using that check box and then please apply type of thing that I just mentioned. Whereas that same negative keyword that you just added really should be in a lot of places added to everything. And so that's where the negative keyword list comes in. You could easily apply it to everything, i.e. all campaigns in your account, with one action. The other thing that you use negative keyword lists is for layered negative keyword strategies, i.e. where one negative keyword needs to go, typically, often does it in other places. Specifically, for just what I mentioned, if you find could be used in one place, it's probably used in another campaign, not just one campaign. But with that said, there's certain types of campaigns that you have where certain types of keywords should be applied. So let's say you have 3 different types of groupings of campaigns that do fundamentally different things. Well, one negative keyword you'll find as you get into being a PPC person or strategist or one that runs PPC won't really be good for all the campaigns. They'll be good for some. And if you categorize the campaigns, well, then you can have one list for these certain types of campaigns, and therefore when you find it in one campaign that's in this certain grouping of the 3 or 4, then you can add that negative keyword to the list that goes to just those other similar type of campaigns, not all. And so there's a kind of a layering of how the negative keywords should go, and that's based upon the different types of campaigns that you have. And I'm not talking about like different types like shopping and search, but like actually what those campaigns fundamentally are supposed to do, i.e. what keywords they actually target. So I'll get into explaining how that works in just a little bit here next. But the main thing is, don't let ads do the filtering for, don't let your ads do what your negative keywords are supposed to do. You will pay big. What I mean by that is, if you are totally green at this, or when people are totally green at this, they think, oh, why do I need the negative keyword? Or first of all, taking a step back, they'll try to have one ad for like 10 different keywords that are fundamentally different keywords. And they think that if they have their ad show up for that person and their ad just says what they do, even if, first of all, they'll like your ad, even though if they're searching for, crime scene or like restoration service, home restoration services, that if they had a fire damage, that they'll want to see an ad that says restoration services, versus what you should do is if they are searching for fire damage, not just have the ad for restoration services and that same ad be used for water damage and so on and so forth, i.e. individual problems that you can fix. Everybody's forced to see the same ad. They should see it. If they have fire damage, they should see an ad that says fire damage on it. But then also, if somebody types in fire damage pictures or information or stats, let's say, and their keyword gets triggered from that search, people think automatically, well, my ad says that I offer services. So they'll read the ad and then they'll say, oh, that's not stats. That's not what I want. Therefore, what's the point of a negative keyword? And you do that, people are half asleep when they're searching. The more you make people you rely on people actually thinking for you and doing your job for you, the more money you're going to lose. And there's a point where it's too inefficient, it just makes no money at all. And of course, your competitors probably have negative keywords, so you're forced to kind of do this in most markets that are even semi-competitive. So when somebody types in fire damage restoration stats, you've got to have stats as a negative keyword to make sure that that ad does not show up for that, because people that are half asleep mentally will click on your ad and waste your budget. And by the way, it'll do more than that, because a lot of people, they'll get to your page and they won't eat with all the crap food people eat, all this other stuff. They won't even pay attention to, even if your page says fire damage restoration services, they'll fill out the form thinking some of the times that you're going to give them information like an ebook or a white paper, when it says nothing of the like on your page. Your sales staff gets on the phone, they start talking to the person, and they spend 2-3 minutes wasting their time. What do you mean? What do you want? And then so you're wasting even more of your money, wasting your salespeople's time. They get pissed off. They get less receptive to leads coming in because now they're overworked, or they think that the leads you're giving them are crap, so on and so on and so on. So you got to use negative keywords. So you can't let the user be to their own devices to filter themselves out. If they're looking for A, you have to give them an ad, or should give them an ad that says exactly A, not close to A, exactly, which means you have to have a keyword for every ad, which means you have to have an ad group for every keyword, and you got to have a lot of negative keywords in your account. So that's just kind of a side note to the whole thing in terms of good account management and the stuff that I do by default because it works so well. I know basically 1 or 2% of people are going to do this. We have to guarantee results for our clients. When I do it for our clients, I guarantee always no. Then with that, I'm going to be able to beat the other people in that market and I can get paid. So that's how our business kind of works. Anyway, moving on. The second thing to mention about negative keyword lists, as far as general negative keyword purposes go, lists should always be used. And what I mean, quote unquote, general, it's, as going back to what I said before, instead of what a lot of people are doing because they're either they don't know or they're just lazy. They see a negative keyword in their search terms report. They click the checkbox. They click add as negative keyword or apply there. And they don't do anything else. They don't apply it to a bunch of other campaigns, but it should be universally used in some way. And so those general keywords, you should be using your negative keyword lists to do that, applying to more than one campaign. But you can't just, you would do yourself a favor by having a negative keyword list strategy where you do that and then applying the negative keywords to everything. But I can tell you, over time, if you're going to do campaigns like I do and you want to be able to really make the big money, and you're going to have different type of campaigns that you're going to run, you're not just going to run a simple search campaign once and you're done and that's it. You'll have different campaigns and you'll need different negative keyword lists themselves, or in other words, a negative keyword list strategy to use the negative keyword lists in the right way to get you the most money you can make from your market. It's always, or for me, it's always squeezing out the maximum amount of profit I can from the opportunity on Google, because once you go beyond what everybody else is willing to do, you're the one that makes 80% of the money in that market. The top 10 to 20% make 80% of the money. Do it for that reason alone. And this is just obvious stuff that can be done. I've also tested all this stuff and know how much difference it makes, so you can take it from me. But so you'll want to use these negative keyword lists. But I break those lists, negative keyword lists, down into 3 different distinct groups so that you can then use the negative keyword list to your best advantage. The first list of negative keyword lists is that I just simply define it as general / everything else. And what that is going to be, let's just say we had a tire shop. We have a tire shop, so there's 2 different types of negative keywords that fit this list that I usually label then right off the top, general / everything else. One of which is irrelevant. So if you're a tire shop, if someone's typing in auto mechanic, we're going to have that added to that list that I labeled that. And then there's also the don't do that, which is, semi tires. Okay, we don't sell semi tires. We don't do retreads. If somebody's searching for tire and brakes, yeah, technically we offer tires, but that person probably wants full service. We don't do that. Sometimes that's profitable, probably not. We don't want people calling in and having to explain over the phone and at least spend our money when we haven't tackled everything else where people are just looking for tires, which is actually specifically what we do. So we're not going to tackle that first. So that would be also another thing that we have in this general list. And so that's one negative keyword list that I have. 90% of accounts that we work on. The second list that we have of 3 lists that we break everything down to is competitor terms. So with this, of course, it's your competitor's brand name, trade names, trademarks, company names, domain names, product names, so on and so forth. Every time someone searches anything like that, you'll have to Google each time you see a term that you think is a competitor term to find out if it is or isn't, and then if you find it is, you put it in that negative list. So the second one is competitor terms. Third one, info terms, i.e., how to, what is. So your tire shop, how to actually buy new tires, or what is the best way to buy new tires. So these are terms that are kind of gray area, right? With that, people are, probably going to be buying tires in the near future. That's a good prospect for us, but it's not a good prospect for us until we've totally tapped into every last person we possibly can who's ready to buy now, in terms of our time, effort, and budget put into it. So if you find a term like that, you're going to put it in the info terms category. And so when you have done all that, you'll right away, let's just say if you're going to start using this strategy today, you'll make your 3 lists, and then from now on, or you can go back and look at your search terms report since the beginning, put everything into these 3 separate lists, or start doing it in the future, and start, keep doing it in the future. Don't just put everything into one list, put it into these 3. Once you've done that, then the general keywords can generally be put in all campaigns. The competitor terms, if you're going to run you may not do it now, but if you in the future run competitor campaigns, which a lot of times once you've gotten the low-hanging fruit, which is a lot of what PPC is. It's about doing one thing that's the most low-hanging fruit strategy, and then doing the next thing, which is just a little bit higher up in terms of the effectiveness and the effort in terms of put in to get the return and the ROI and all those things combined. You do that, and then you do the next strategy. And at each strategy, you're tracking everything in terms of cost per lead, or how many of those leads turns into sales by taking the revenue data that you have and putting it into your account, and then guiding things based upon what ROI you need, according to your margins, or if you're e-commerce, to also just see what the return on account spend, revenue over ad spend is, and then adjusting things on that campaign and knowing that I have to have an 800% ROI to be profitable, and this part of the account gets an 800% ROI, we'll keep it. This other part, it just doesn't. Okay, well, that's the part of that particular strategy we have that works. We'll move on to the next strategy. And then eventually you'll get to competitor terms. And there's some part of that competitor campaign strategy that will work if you don't know how to do that, I've got campaigns about that where you actually put ads for your people searching for your competitor stuff, saying why you're actually better. Not just that you offer what you offer, but why you're actually better. Driving them to your site. That particular method itself is quite effective. So if you haven't done it already, you should explore it, but specifically in that way. And the competitor terms campaign will not get the negative keywords from the competitor terms list. However, all the rest of the campaigns will get it, so that you can easily isolate out, and you don't have, and with that, you know, the competitor terms aren't going to affect the results on these other campaigns. You want to silo it out so you can control what part of that competitor terms you want to keep, and then it won't bog down other campaigns. And then, of course, later on, you'll also want those campaigns that are like how to select a proper tire for my car, proper tire shop, you know, what are the best tire shops in my area, i.e. looking for reviews, that kind of stuff. You'll have those campaigns, and that'll be another strategy you do. Probably do competitors first, you know, your other tire shops in the area, and then your info terms. What kind of tire should I get for my 2008 Kia Rio? And that person's looking for a tire. You have your ad show up there, and ultimately what you say is, this month only, we're offering 10% off any new tire for our customers. And so if they're looking for a tire, maybe they'll go through your sequence because they don't want to miss out on that while they're doing their research. And so if you have a good enough offer there, it will be profitable because you'll have the click-through rate you need, so on and so forth. And with that, or if you wanted, as I mentioned on other videos, you can take that up to the next point, which is, how do I select a proper tire for my car if I need to replace my tire? Since that's a more search term, well, you just send that people to an article on your site that exactly explains that, and then you have a call to action on the site that gives them the same offer at the bottom of the article in the sidebar. And then also then what you do is that because they've seen and read that article, and if it was a good article, you have to put effort into it, so it's good information, so they found what they need and don't have to go back to Google to read anything else. They felt, that answered my question. Then later on, when they go to search for a tire shop, they're 3 times as likely to click on your ad for local tire shop, because now they read the domain name and who it is before they click on the ad a lot of times in the ad section on Google, where you're 3 times as likely to get that person then. So it's a part of an overall strategy so with that, you shouldn't make the mistake that, they didn't buy right away, so therefore I don't do it. You're going to look at, here's my revenue, here's my ad spend. We're going to raise the ad spend up 20%. We're going to see if we can get the sales to go up 20%. If we can, we're going to raise the ad spend 20% again. And you're going to walk your revenue up like that, taking strategies that are farther and farther up the chain or buying chain or the funnel, where they're they're farther and farther from making a purchase, doing stuff to build up credibility with the user so that when they get to buy, you're the one by default that they use, and you use overall sales as a judge of doing it, because very few people who read the article are ready to buy right then. So just a side note to all that. But with the info terms campaign, you of course are now ready to, you can apply your negative keyword list for general and competitors, but you don't have your info terms applied to your info campaigns. For your competitor terms campaign, you have your info and general lists applied, but not your competitor list. For everything else, you have your competitor and info lists applied, but not your general, sorry. So you get the general gist of how this works. So if you break things up like that, it generally works pretty good for 90+% of companies out there. I'll just say 95+. That's what I do on every campaign that we run virtually, and that's what I would recommend for you to do. Now, with that said, when should you add negative keywords to this? To wrap this video up, I want to say if you have a brand new account, people make a big mistake and they wait too long to do negative keywords. Yes, it's a pain in the butt, but you may run out of money before you start making money, or the account starts self-financing itself, i.e. you have high enough return from what you're doing to keep the ads running and expand, that you're probably going to want to start out by going into your search terms report in your account that I described, where you see where and how you need to add your negative keywords. And every single day for the first 30 days, you're going to see if you can add negative keywords. And you're going to classify them in A, B, or C and put them in their appropriate list. So that automatically, as soon as you put it in that list, all campaigns that should get that keyword do get that keyword. And again, you're going to, based upon if it's a general campaign, it's a competitor campaign, or if it's in an info campaign, it'll get its appropriate list, and then that negative keyword will get applied to where it needs to be applied automatically. All you're going to do is look at the overall the search terms that triggered your ad that day, pick out what you should have, put it in the most appropriate list here of the 3, and then you're done. You're going to do that every day for the first month, because starting out, things are much more wild. And of course, it's more, you want to make sure you can make money before you run out of money. And so if you care about that, you should do that. Then once you get past the first month, every week you're going to do the same thing, basically. So for the first 30 to 90 days, that's going to be your strategy weekly, because you're going to have a higher proportion of bad searches right away because you give less negative keywords. It's just, naturally how it is. Then once you get past the first 90 days, you're going to do it monthly. This is the exact formula that I'm using for all of our clients' accounts, where we have to guarantee their results. So I'm just letting you know what I do. And then that's monthly forever. There's never a time where we don't stop adding negative keywords. Put it in your calendar, do it. Or hire somebody to do it. But just keep in mind, if you do hire somebody to do it, they have to know your business or invest their time in your business, or be smart enough to understand quickly how to understand what you're doing, because there's keywords here like I mentioned, tire retreading. Well, the average dummy out there doesn't know what tire retreading is. So if you have them add negative keywords to your account and they're just handling it, they don't know what retreading is. They don't know you don't offer it, and then now you're spending money for retreading forever, which could end up to thousands of dollars over time if it's that's a popular term that people have to search for if they have a trucking business or so on and so forth. So, and then when you add your negative keywords, every single time you do this, maybe every day when you start out the first 30 days, it's a little overkill, but just for a good measure, maybe you do it every day, every time you add negative keywords without questions asked. You're going to do a keyword diagnosis report after applying the negative keywords each time. And what that is you go into the keywords menu and you click the checkbox for all your keywords in there, and then you're going to do run report keyword diagnosis. And what that keyword diagnosis report is going to do is tell you if there's any conflict. So in other words, did you add any negative keywords that are now blocking a actual keyword that you wanted to bid on? And if there is, you can then decide if you want the negative keyword or you want to shut off the actual keyword itself. A lot of times when you're setting up hundreds and hundreds of keywords initially, like I would, there's 1 or 2 keywords in there that was kind of, maybe you made a small error on it. I make small errors sometimes, where that negative keyword is blocking that keyword. Well, then now you can make the executive decision to block that keyword that should have never been in there in the first place. And then over time, of course, that those negative keywords is ones that you shouldn't have added, and then you can take them out so it doesn't block the other keywords from actually triggering your ads. So that's set. And then the last thing I'll mention about all this, of course, by doing it so instead of just waiting a year and then doing it, there's a major drawback to that. The algorithm, Google's ad algorithm, hates change. The bigger the changes you make, the more volatile your results are going to be short term. Your goal should be to make as little changes as possible, which means you have to be using someone knowledgeable to not just be changing stuff. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, that didn't work. So that you can make as little changes as possible, because the ad algorithm hates the change. Because if the ads are changing all the time, they're not going to be making the most money for themselves, which is what it is. They want to know which ads perform, and then that's where they are. And if you're new coming in, they only slowly test your ads out because they don't want to disrupt things until they know your ads are actually better than the people that are there, not just maybe. So you have to earn it. But if you add a bunch of negative keywords at once, the algorithm goes, whoa, what's going on here? And then so if you have to have so much order flow to keep your staff busy, You don't want to add negative keywords once a year. You want to add them once a month. That's, no more than that. And there's a reason why I just arbitrarily picked once a month. That's because I want, okay, you have to make changes. So you can't avoid some of the volatility, but what you can do is minimize it so it doesn't have a disruptive form on your business. So, you might get a 5% or less change in your results when you add the negative keywords, but nobody notices that. But if you do it once a year, holy crap, where's all the leads at? I do it just because I don't want, hassle for my clients. Hey, Corey, where's all the leads at? We're down 50%. My sales guys are pissed at me. So that's a problem for me, but it's also a problem for them, and it will also be a problem for you if you also do too much of your maintenance, i.e. negative keywords being a huge one of them, probably in the top 3 for sure, of things that you want to do more frequently than less, and you're going to benefit from doing it more frequently than less. Of course, nobody has time to do it every day forever. Up front, it makes every sense to do it up front every day, like I said, and then weekly, but no more than once a month, or no less frequent than once a month long term, unless you really don't care about short-term results at all. And even with that said, do you really want the inefficiency there for a whole year, wasting money on something that can't generate you business and is pissing off all the salespeople that, non-qualified people coming through? That also, is bad for morale on the internal, inside your company as well. But anyway, that's about negative keyword lists. Hopefully that put into frame of reference how to use negative keyword lists, taking it from somebody who just does this every day myself. If you enjoyed the video, I have a ton of other videos like this on this channel that talk about PPC strategy, money-making PPC strategies. Also, I have a blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog where you can see step-by-step instructions on how to build campaigns like I build them here to guarantee results for our clients as well. If you have any questions or concerns or comments about what negative keyword list that I didn't cover here, leave a comment down below. I get back to every person who asks me a question in the comment section. But hope you enjoyed the video and it inspired you to start using negative keyword lists in case you haven't already.